This keeps getting crazier for the Toronto Raptors. Of course, over the past few weeks, we've seen RJ Barrett's name pop up in a ton of reports and rumors regarding trades. And now LaMelo Ball is a name that's getting tossed around league circles as a piece that is on the move this offseason. And the Toronto Raptors are among the favorites to land the star point guard from the Charlotte Hornets. And frankly, this is a wild update because, of course, LaMelo Ball has put up some superstar caliber statistics, but struggles to stay out there on the court. But with RJ Barrett's name circulating, I've been outspoken about how I do not want to see RJ Barrett dealt in any of these types of trade packages. But for LaMelo Ball, for a player of his caliber, while I'm still hesitant, this is a deal that I've seen a lot of people get very excited about. So we'll break down what's going on with all these latest reports, how this would change the Toronto Raptors' trajectory out there for the future, and why the Toronto Raptors are a fit for LaMelo Ball in one of these trade packages. So a lot of stuff to discuss, but before diving into that, we have an exciting announcement as we are finally back out there on Spotify, on Apple Music. It's been we've been trying to find the right audio partnerships to get us out there on that, get the videos uploaded consistently, but they are back. All of our videos going forward will be up there on your favorite podcasting platforms, on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast, they will be up there. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, follow button out there on our Spotify, leave a good review, and I'll link them both down below so you guys can listen to all the latest Raptors Digest episodes out there on the go. So definitely check that out. But let's dive into the madness. Let's dive into the news because frankly, things are getting absolutely wild here now at this point. So basically, news has come out that, following the Luka Doncic trade, NBA executives around the league have expanded their horizons on which potential stars could be next to change teams. And the availability of Hornets guard LaMelo Ball is one of the stars several executives who spoke with Hoops Hype will be monitoring on the trade market this summer. So this is very intriguing as we'll break down all the reports linking the Raptors, but LaMelo Ball is a guy that objectively is really, really good at basketball. We'll talk about his, the risks and the things that come along with it, but at just 23 years old, averaging 26 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, 7 assists, shooting 34% from the three-point line, 33% on corner threes. The efficiency is a bit of a question mark, but a 23-year-old averaging 26, 5, and 7 is someone you cannot deny is a phenomenal basketball player. But of course, him getting thrown out there in these trade discussions, what does that link us to the Toronto Raptors? What happens there at this point? Because, of course, there's been a ton of reports regarding RJ Barrett, his name getting added to a bunch of trade discussions, and we'll talk about the fit in terms of a piece there. But the thing that added fuel to this fire, to all the speculation stuff, is the Toronto Raptors are among the favorites to land LaMelo Ball in one of these trade packages. So, essentially, you can see the list there, but these are the favorites if LaMelo Ball's not with the Hornets next season, what team he will be on. Now, of course, the Rockets, the Magic, and the Warriors are above the Toronto Raptors on this list, but the odds are pretty flat there right now, and the Toronto Raptors are there in the fourth best position. Now, if you've been following this channel, you've been following the Raptors news, rumors, reports over the last however long. I mean, the Raptors have been linked to LaMelo Ball for, during when he was coming to the NBA draft. There's been some reports over the years, as we saw with Brandon Ingram. And then, of course, Brandon Ingram ended up getting traded. Now, the Toronto Raptors are among the teams that could get involved in one of these trade packages. But, we'll talk the Rockets and Magic, though those teams do have some assets. There are some interesting squads, but the thing that makes this even more realistic for the Toronto Raptors is all the stuff we've been hearing about RJ Barrett. As essentially we broke down a recent video with the Toronto Raptors envisioning a front court of Scottie Barnes and newly extended Brandon Ingram, along with former lottery pick Gradey Dick at shooting guard. Where does that leave current leading scorer RJ Barrett's future? Based on conversations before the deadline, Barrett could be a trade candidate to monitor this summer. Barrett was discussed in trade talks with Ingram with the New Orleans Pelicans, but the Pelicans preferred the expiring contract of Bruce Brown and stretch 5 center Kelly Olynyk, who is owed $13.5 million next season. And league sources of Hoopsite said that with Trey Murphy and Herb Jones already on the wings, the Pelicans didn't view Barrett as a suitable fit on their roster and would have necessitated finding a third team, sources said. So, again, I was outspoken on how a guy averaging 22, 6, and 5 out there in a trade package for Brandon Ingram didn't make any sense whatsoever comparative to the package that we sort of had out there on the table. And the fact that Masai Ujiri is willing to throw him out there and is looking to this new and improved, or whatever you want to call it, this new updated version of the wing position for the Raptors, RJ Barrett is the odd man out. We covered all this, we hashed all this over, but basically, there's all signs are indicating RJ Barrett's going to be thrown out there in trade talks, discussions over this offseason, which I hate, but it is what it is. But for the packages at the likes of what we saw him offered up for ahead of this year's trade deadline and Brandon Ingram, I would be extremely disappointed. I would be calling for Masai Ujiri, exclamations for Masai Ujiri if we made one of those deals like that, one that's kind of on the table for Brandon Ingram, because I just value RJ Barrett too much to be tossed around in one of those types of packages. I think it's a lateral move. He's younger, he's Canadian, he's all that type of stuff. And people are talking about homerisms out there in the comment section. Like, that is an underrated aspect of sports fandom. You do have to take these things into account when, you're building a team. If you're just kind of doing a lateral move, a trade that doesn't really make a ton of sense, like, the fans of the team want to build relationships with the players. They want to be invested. They want to look at this. This is a legitimate thing that kind of gets, written off by people that think, like, oh, this, we just need whatever. Like, RJ Barrett, if you're trading for a lateral move, that is objectively a bad thing to do because the fan base has built relationships. I know the hometown thing. Like, people are using the term homerism as kind of, an insult and all those types of language and stuff, but like, I want to root for the players that are on this team. And we've had so much roster transition, so much flux over the past couple years. It's hard to really, build that relationship, build that fandom for specific players when they're in, out of the lineup. So, I don't know. That's just something I wanted to say as, because I like rooting for these players. I don't want to see them traded in lateral trades. It doesn't make sense to me. So, even, whatever. So that is what it is. But RJ Barrett getting thrown out there in these trade discussions, is a deal like this, even if it's a risk, and we'll talk about whether or not we like one of these moves, but basically it makes more sense because you're trading in theory up for a guy that's more talented, that has more upside, that raises the ceiling of your team. We'll take a look at his stats again. LaMelo Ball is a guy that, 26, 5, and 7, like a legitimate ceiling raiser for your team if he's doing things right. Now, of course, he hasn't been able to lead the Charlotte Hornets to wins. He did a little bit more earlier on in his career because they had a bit better roster around him, but he's dealt with a ton of injuries. His play style isn't super efficient, but again, that could be a factor of him being on a bad team and all those types of things. He is super young as well, but his family has dealt with injuries. We've seen Lonzo Ball be out for 2 whole seasons. LaMelo Ball's dealt with some ankle issues as well. The Raptors do have one of the better medical staffs out there in the NBA, but even we've been absolutely bit by the injury bug this season. But the price for LaMelo Ball will be extremely high if a deal like that's going to happen. So this is a trade I kind of put together. Again, it feels like it's a lot the Toronto Raptors are giving up. Immanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, and 2 firsts out there for LaMelo Ball. A young guy that's averaging those types of stats. This is probably the trade package that is going to have to be put together, and I'm not sold on giving up all these assets. I get the financial flexibility side of things. I get that whole aspect of everything that's going on. You take on Yusuf Nurkic's just brutal contract, and you see where things go. He'll be expiring in the offseason. Of course, this trade will have to be made out there in the offseason, so that is what it is. You get some depth out there at the center position. You bring in LaMelo Ball, and then your lineup is kind of looking like they're at that point. LaMelo Ball out there at the point guard position, Gradey Dick at the 2, Scottie Barnes at 3, Brandon Ingram at the 4. You flip those guys in the forward positions, and then Jakob Poeltl at your 5. So off the bench, you have Jamal Shead, you have Jacoby Walter, you have Jonathan Mobo, Jamison Battle. We'll see if Chris Boucher still have the tee. We'll see how things kind of get routed out. But financially, like, this is the argument for trading away RJ Barrett. This is, trade your 250-cent pieces for $1, whatever you want to call it. I think the injury risk for LaMelo Ball is extremely high in a package like this, so I'm not super sold, and I think people are undervaluing RJ Barrett, especially where things are kind of going here now at this point. Immanuel Quickley, given his current contract and his ups and downs with injuries this season, I don't think he's much of a trade plus, so that's why the picks would probably have to be involved in one of these trade packages, but the Hornets, they have a new GM, they have a new ownership group. They're trying to really make, do a little bit of a teardown. They tried to get rid of Mark Williams at the trade deadline. It didn't happen, but it's an interesting situation. It's an interesting thing to kind of follow and look at for this Raptors squad for LaMelo Ball. I mean, it'd be cool to have him on there. If he can stay healthy, it's, a huge piece to be added, but the price is just very, very high in one of these trade packages. So let me know if you guys would like to see this deal go down for the Toronto Raptors. You guys the best thing as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. And folks, as I mentioned before, we're back on Spotify. So you made it this far and you want to be able to hear on the go, hit that subscribe button on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your Apple Podcasts, I think the actual name of it is. But hit that follow button. Anyways, you guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.